guys, this will be week number 6 of NTI. I know, I can barely believe it as well. We currently, as of today, only have 2.5 weeks left, because now we're getting out on May 13th, if you didn't hear the news. So it's crazy, like only 2.5 weeks, that's insane. So I really think, looking at the rest of the year, we're just going to get through some volume type problems, and at the very end of the year we might talk a little bit about circles, but I don't think we're going to have as much time to talk about them as I originally thought. But I still think volume is really important, and I'm going to try to squeeze in as much about circles as I can next week probably, but this week will all be about surface area and volume. And so surface area and volume are related just to 3D figures, okay? So if you think of 3D, 3D stands for third dimension. So anything that you look at right now that has some sort of height, length, and width, okay? So the only thing that I could think of on your desk or wherever you're working that's not 3D would be like a piece of paper, okay? It is 3D, but that's like the best example I could give you of something that's not really 3D. So 3-dimensional, it means it has to have length, width, and height, okay? So we're going to classify just 3D figures today and just kind of get some of the vocabulary down. And then you're going to do kind of like a scavenger hunt later for your assignment today. So hopefully you have some fun with it. And yeah, just have some fun with it. That's all I'm asking. So with these 3D figures, there's kind of two big categories, and then there's some very like special ones. So the first category are prisms. So prisms are a solid with two bases that are congruent and parallel. So the bases that they're talking about would be here and here. Okay, and so how I kind of think about it is I kind of look for those two bases that would be congruent. So these two triangles look pretty congruent to each other, ignoring my awful drawing of lines. But it's almost like this triangle is being pushed up to the other triangle, or like being lifted up to the other triangle. And so those two triangles would never touch. They're parallel to each other. So that's what this is saying, that the two bases are congruent and parallel to each other. And then you get a little bit more specific. You don't just say, oh, this is a prism. You can be more specific and call it by its base. And so since this base is a triangle, it would be called a triangular prism. Okay. So that's right there. And so you just have to count the number of sides on the bases to figure out what kind of prism it actually is. Then the second category that we have are pyramids. So a pyramid is just like what you think, if you think of just like in Egypt, the pyramids in there. It's when a solid has one base and all the other faces, so a face would be like one of these sides in the figure, when they all meet at a point. So this blue triangle would be my base, and then all the other faces of that shape are being met at one single point, okay? And again, since this base is a triangle, we would call this a triangular pyramid. Okay, so those are the difference between prism and pyramid. And then getting into these, a sphere is the most unique, I would say, but it's also one that you guys would know the most. Planets are shaped like a sphere, a tennis ball, a basketball, a base, like any type of ball, or I don't know, there's just a lot of things that you could probably already figure out that look like spheres, and so those should be really easy to point out. But the more technical definition is when each point is equidistant from the center point. So if I drew a center and then I drew a line, it should be the same distance no matter where I draw that line. Okay. The next one I will talk about would be a cone. So a cone is very closely related to a pyramid, because it has this, like, these, I don't want to call them sides, but they're meeting at a point again. The difference between a cone and a pyramid is that it has this more rounded shape. So think about like an ice cream cone, that would be or like a party hat. And then the other thing is it has this circular base, okay? This circular base is what's causing it to not have sides or faces like it would in a pyramid. So cone and sphere are its own thing. And then cylinder is also its own thing. But a cylinder is closely related to a prism. It just has its own special name because it has these circular bases. So think of like a Coke can or a soup can. It again has these two faces that are circular. They would be congruent to each other, and it's almost like it's being lifted up or being pushed through to the other one. So those two circles are parallel to each other. So that's where it's saying it's a prism still, but it has its own special name as a cylinder. Okay, so in this sheet, we are going to go through and classify each of these solids using the best classification that we have from above. So number one, I already see that all of these sides are being met at a single point. So I'm already thinking of about a pyramid or a cone. Already, I can't say it's a cone because I actually have faces, so it's not a rounded circular base either. So when I'm looking at a pyramid, I then want to see what's the base. The base is not the pointy part. And then again, this base appears to be a rectangle. It has the 4 right angles. And then I have 2 sets of congruent sides. So we would call this one a rectangular pyramid. Okay, then the next one. So next one looks just like a cone, and it is a cone. It has that circular base, and it meets at one point. So this is a cone. Number 3. Number 3, I have some faces, and then I have what appears to be 2 triangular bases. And again, it's like this triangle is being pushed up to this other triangle, which comes from that prism idea. So since my base is a triangle, this is also a triangular prism. Number 4, I have all of my faces meeting at this one point, so I'm thinking pyramid. But in order to give it a better classification than just pyramid, I'm going to see how many sides this base has. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So a 6-sided shape is a hexagon. So this is a hexagonal pyramid. For number 5, 5 looks a lot like a cylinder. It has that kind of Coke can shape, and it is in fact a cylinder because it has those circular bases that are parallel to each other. In 6 appears to be a rectangle for its bases. Actually, all of its faces are rectangles. So again, it does not meet at a point, so it's going to be a prism. And since it has that rectangular base, it's going to be a rectangular prism. Just to kind of give some background of why it's so important to get these right is all of these have a very specific volume formula and surface area formula. So if you were to classify a shape incorrectly, you could be plugging in your points or your measurements into a completely wrong formula. And you could be doing all the math right, but you'd be using the wrong formula and then getting the wrong answer. So it's really important that we understand how to classify these figures. For 7, I have a trapezoid. That's what it appears to be. Here's a trapezoid here. And then I'm going to kind of make this other trapezoid stand out. So it's almost like they're being pulled from each other and they're parallel from each other. If you didn't know, these dotted lines are to kind of give it that 3D effect. And so that's why it would be if I can erase all my things, a trapezoidal, however you want to say it, prism. There we go. Number 8, I have all my points, or all my faces meeting at this one point. So I'm going to think pyramid. But I can go a little bit further with the pyramid and figure out what kind of base this has. And I'm told that all of these sides are congruent. And so that has to be a square. So this would be a square pyramid. Ah, that is really bad handwriting, sorry. In 9, I have what looks to be some type of prism again. And then this would be my base, as well as this one down here. And then, so I'm going to count how many sides that base has. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's a 5-sided base. So that would be a pentagonal. Prism. If you're getting mixed up with like pentagonal instead of like pentagon, it's not a huge thing, but usually you just write, or like you add a AL at the end, or an AR. It just depends on which one you're working with. For number 10, 10 looks kind of weird, to me anyway, and I think that's just because of how it's sitting. But again, all of those sides, those bases would be meeting at a point. You could have that be your point, or this could be your point. And so if I worked with the blue one, that would mean this was my base. So then that would be a triangular pyramid. For 11, in 11, I have what appears to be a prism. So here's a base, and then here's the other base that's parallel. Both of those bases are triangles, so that would be a triangular prism. There we go. And then 12 is that notorious sphere that is just special to itself, and hopefully we are able to identify that that is in fact a sphere. Alright guys, so I just want to explain the Canvas assignment before I let you go off and try it yourself. Hopefully the directions are pretty straightforward, but if you have any questions, please reach out. So it's going to be different than usual. You're going to actually go on a scavenger hunt. So this is supposed to be fun, and I hope you guys actually have fun with it and are not just like, oh, Miss Jackson, I do not want to do this. So have fun with it, first rule. But your job is to find at least 2 different types of solids that we discussed in today's video. So here's some rules. Number 1, they cannot be the same type of solid or the same thing, okay? So that means, like, do not show me 2 just different types of cylinders, okay? Don't be like, oh, here's 2 different sizes of soup cans, okay? Those are both still cylinders. I'm looking for a little bit more here. What you can do is you can show me like different types of prisms. So you could show me if you found a triangular prism and a rectangular prism. That would work. But I'm just looking for a little bit more than just some soup cans, okay? The second rule, the two objects that you find have to be in your house or outside your house. The more original, the better. So this basically means that you cannot just Google things, okay? If you're having a ton of trouble trying to come up with ideas, like just shoot me a text on Remind or Canvas, whatever, and I can maybe get you some ideas. But I do think you can use Google to get some ideas. But I would try to be creative and try to find them on your own first. Third thing, you're going to submit a picture of your items in this assignment. So this is straight from Canvas. And in the assignment thing, you can just upload a picture. I do know that downloading the Canvas app on your smartphone, if you have one, is a little bit better for uploading pictures. If you don't have a smartphone and you have to use your actual laptop, it works the same way. You might just have to like email yourself the picture and then upload it to Canvas. You guys have been pretty creative with uploading pictures, so I don't think many of us will have issues, but if you do have issues, contact me ASAP, and preferably before 3 p.m. because after 3 p.m. I pretty much put my laptop away and I try not to think about too much school. Which is what I hope you guys do as well, because we all need that little break time. The other thing that is also really, really important is this in the comment section. You have to tell me what each item is, okay? Some things, I'll know what they are, but just write a short little sentence about what they are and then what type of solid you think it would be classified as. So, an example, Picture 1 is a picture of a soup can, and it could be classified as a cylinder, okay? That's all I want. You don't have to write a big paragraph, just a short little sentence. And then the last thing is bonus points, okay? Yep, that's right. I could give out bonus points, possibly. This is going in the assessments category, so some of you could really benefit from this bonus points option. If you find more than 2 different solids and I approve that they are in fact different, then you could get some bonus points or some extra credit in the assessments category, okay? So they have to be different than your first 2, and I have to approve them. If I don't approve them, then you're not getting any points. So make sure you actually find 3 different things instead of just 2 different, if you want those bonus points. This is due at midnight tonight, so just make sure you have it turned in by midnight. You for sure will not be getting any extra credit if you turn it in late. And have some fun. Remember, geometry is everywhere, and yeah, just have some fun with this, guys. And let me know if you have any questions or if you need help. But that's all I have, and I will talk to you tomorrow on YouTube. Okay, bye guys.